Good morning. Hello. Hey Betty, how are you?
Hi.
I'm excited. I always like getting a guest that refers another guest over. That's always a great combination because there's usually a reason and we get to find out on the show and it's just fun to
I also think this is a cool, deeper dive into a
Yeah,
topic
totally.
that we were
Yeah.
really blown away by.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really crazy. But yeah, so we're gonna get into all that in a second, but in order to get to that, we have to kind of tell the story of what caused all this in the first place. So like if you not to just jump right in, but let's jump right in, right? Like let's get there.
Yeah, no, let's do it. And
Yeah.
just to let you know, I can ramble, so please feel free
Listen,
to like
That's
ask.
all right. The less I got to talk, the better I feel.
Yeah, Tom is just getting over an unfortunate flu
The whole
situation.
family had the flu,
Oh
so
man,
yeah.
that's rough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does suck. So last night's show, a guy was really energetic and Tom's like basically like,
I'm
As
glassy
always.
eyed,
Yeah.
and yeah.
I feel you. Well, I hope that maybe some of my energy can give you some healing today.
well, it's two in a row. Yeah.
Yes.
So,
So yeah, I had a near death like experience a little over 6 years ago. But before my experience, I was a homeless meth head prostitute strung out on heroin. So
that's a
my
lot to
life,
unpack there.
there's a lot. There's a lot.
This seems like our average guest, honestly.
Yeah. So but just paint me a geographical picture here. Where are we talking about?
So I was born in Brooklyn, grew up in Las Vegas. I live in Brooklyn now again for the last 17 years I've been here. So at the time of my near-death experience, living in the New York City area,
Okay.
which is super spiritual place. I don't know if you guys have been.
I grew up
was
on
in
Long Island.
and I was in Hoboken for 15 years. So
Okay, so then it's like a metropolis. There's
Yeah,
not a lot of rooted spirituality anywhere. You got to walk for 20 minutes just to find a patch of grass to root
yeah.
your feet in.
Although I did just walk last 2-3 weekends ago, maybe I walked from the start of the High Line to the end of the High Line.
Nice.
It took me like 2 hours to get through like the whole thing, but I mean, it is changing quite a bit. I was really surprised. That is an amazing walkway now.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's a beautiful place. I mean, I would never live anywhere other than here, but definitely not a place for spiritual development. I mean,
Yeah,
you gotta
for sure.
really like search for it,
Yeah, we'll introduce you to Maya. She was on the show. She's actually got a 501c for a center like that's coming in New York City. You guys would be fast friends, and
That is amazing.
and she's literally in Manhattan. So
Awesome. Amazing. So yeah, so my overdose took place on my bathroom floor.
okay,
I'm a lifelong drug user. Since I'm a little kid, I grew up in a family of generational addiction. So my parents were both addicts, their parents were addicts, their parents were addicts, and everything that goes along with living a life like that. So my family also dealt with poverty and lots of sexual trauma within the family. And just dense, and I'm not saying that my whole life was totally terrible. I have happy memories too, but my life I thought was normal. I thought that it was normal to steal your groceries. I thought that it was normal for your mom to go to jail for getting caught stealing your groceries. I thought that it was normal to have a long orange extension cord going from your apartment to the building so that you could have lights on in the house. I thought that it was normal to move once or twice a year and to get eviction notices plastered on your door. All of those things were very normal to me. And I didn't realize until I got older and maybe like started going to sleepovers and stuff that nobody else's family is like my
hey, where's your extension cord? Where do you keep that?
Yeah. How come no one's tripping over this
Yeah.
in the house?
That's wild, man. I got to be honest. Like that's an intense. The levity in which you say that, I'm sure this is practiced at this point because you've probably told the story a million times. But for God's sakes, like I mean, that's
Heavy.
heavy. Like I
We
feel
haven't
bad.
even gotten to the bulk.
No,
of it.
I know, but I
You
feel
know,
bad
shut
laughing
it.
with you about this. But like your energy is a little infectious, so like I kind of want to
Okay.
laugh with you, but
Oh, yeah,
I
it's,
feel guilty for laughing.
No, not at all. It's actually really funny. I mean, the thing is that now that I've had this spiritual experience, I can find humor in the story because I understand that it's just a story.
Right.
I'm
Okay.
an actress here on earth and I don't have to be a method actor if I don't want. I can just read the lines, enjoy the script, enjoy the story and move on. And
Interesting.
take off my costume at the end of my life and be like, wow, I did a good job in that lifetime. I don't have to be super attached to the role that I'm playing. But I mean, you couldn't have told me that 6 years ago. 6 years ago, I lived in my victim mentality. It was my whole existence.
Interesting.
My parents, I watched their addiction just completely progress over the course of their lives. And in the height of the Oxycontin epidemic, my parents were prescribed over 1,000 pills each every month. And somehow they were still running out of pills every month and going through benzo and opiate withdrawal. And again, like the lights were turned off, the gas was turned off, the phone was turned off. They were about to be evicted for the millionth time again. And they just decided that enough was enough. And they were sick and tired of being sick and tired. They had to stop using drugs. And the only way that they knew how to do that was to die. So in 2007, my parents completed suicide with one another.
Wow.
They intentionally overdosed.
So together they did it as a team? Wow.
They wrote notes. They were really brief. They were written on like the kitchen magnet notepad, and it just said, take care of each other. And it was addressed to my sister and I. And at the time I was 23 and my sister was 18. So there was no way that we knew how to take care of each other. But like that death, it totally transformed my life because I had felt like a victim my whole life. And this was the seal on it. Like, okay, yeah, I am victimized by life. Nothing ever goes the way that I want it to. And so in that moment, I decided that I would never be a victim again. Now I would be the perpetrator because I didn't even know that there were other roles to play. I thought that it was only predator and prey. I didn't know that you can just be like a good person. I didn't know that you could do that. So that's what I did after their death. My addiction became my whole personality. It morphed into me. There was no part of me left. It was just addiction. Like I'm even covered in.
So you went gangster style. You just you went like right in there, huh?
Hardcore hedonist all the way into
Yeah.
I'm like covered in tattoos. I have like liquor bottles and packs of cigarettes. I have a naked girl in a martini glass.
You're like some random shit. I don't know. This made sense at one point. I'm not sure why.
Yeah. My addiction made me its bitch. It branded me.
Yeah, and, literally.
And that was it, but it was my number one coping mechanism. And I'm grateful for it in some way because I could have never survived my feelings of grief and abandonment if it wasn't for my addiction.
Well, sure. Yeah.
But at some point it took off. It morphed. I probably didn't need it anymore. And it just kept latching onto me. And so, it caused me to become an abuser. And I was a traumatized person who was maliciously, intentionally traumatizing other people. I thought that it was my job to make people hurt as badly as I hurt. And so that's what I did. I went around causing wreckage everywhere that I went. Nothing was more important than my addiction. I abandoned my sister. I moved across the country. I've been married and divorced a handful of times. No relationship, nothing in my life has ever been more important than my relationship to drugs. And then drugs killed me. So in 2019, I experienced this overdose, and I had this.
Was this? It doesn't seem like it was intentional, but given the history that you just went through,
it wasn't intentional. But I was really living to die.
Okay.
I didn't care if I lived or died because my life kind of felt like death anyway. So it was like, oh, if I don't wake up, that's cool. But it definitely wasn't intentional. I did take a little bit more than I usually took. And I had like this long laundry list of drugs that I did the second that I woke up all the way until I passed out, if I did pass out that day. And that day I took a little bit extra because I was going to go do laundry. And I was like, might as well be super wavy for this mundane human task, right? And that's when I realized I had taken too much and my body collapsed. And I started to experience a life review as the first part of my experience. And like I just shared, I was not a good person. So my life review sucked.
That wasn't great.
It was not great. It was not great. Luckily, it's very fast, but it was not great. I started to experience all the pain that I had inflicted on other people, emotional, physical, spiritual pain. I didn't even know what spiritual anything meant. I was a radical atheist at the time of my experience, did not believe in anything bigger than drugs. Drugs were my God. No space for actual God because I only have space for drugs. And it was so painful. I started to experience my parents' suicide like through their perspective. It was as if I was them, driving to the pharmacy, picking up the pills, eating fistful after fistful after fistful, writing the notes. The deep, agonizing hurt. It felt like I was drowning.
Now, did you see them or just have the feeling of them?
No,
Or like,
I mean, it was like I was experiencing it
As
through
them.
their
Oh,
eyes.
as them. Oh, right. I
Yeah.
see.
Hey,
Okay.
Betty, can I ask you something? Because when we interviewed, why can't I
Bob.
think of his name? Bob, thank you. He said that they're even when something bad was going on, even when their life review wasn't stellar.
He talked about that murderer, the guy who like mowed down.
He
like, killed a
said
bunch
it
of
was
people.
like you were shown it, but you weren't blamed for it, right? There wasn't.
Definitely not. No,
Okay.
not at all. There's no judgment. There's no condemnation. It was just, it's truth, right? Like I
Mhm.
was just experiencing the feelings that were actually happening. Those were the real feelings that were going on. So
Okay.
if I hurt someone, I was experiencing their pain. I wasn't being judged for it. So, you know, like now in my life, I live my life each day. Like I'm going to experience a life review at the end of it. Like I don't want to cause too much harm because I don't want to
Yeah.
feel the repercussions of what I've done. And so I live my life in a more spiritually led way today. And I'm not saying that I'm perfect. Like I definitely still cause harm, but not as intentionally anymore. But yeah, no, I definitely no condemnation, no judgment. The only judge in my life review is me. I'm the judge. Like I'm feeling what I've done. It's really just about truth. It has nothing to do with condemnation at all.
And you said it was short. I've been curious about this. We kind of didn't talk about it with Bob, but like, what is short? Like, I mean, when we hear these things, like I saw my life flash before me, like,
Yeah,
I'm curious, like, is that like a literal flash or did it feel like it drew on for a little bit? Like, were you at a movie kind of thing? Like,
imagine your computer going through a software update, right? Like sometimes it takes 3 seconds. It's like Zoom is updating. Okay, boom, Zoom is updated. It's kind of like that, but you're receiving so much information and
Right.
but it's happening, but there's no such thing as time.
Right. Yeah. I kind of figured as much. But once you come back to this kind of existence.
Yeah. I mean, my whole experience lasted about 8 hours. And the only reason why I know that is because I was daylight when it started and it was nighttime when it ended. And it was actually a really long time. But there was the parts of it, they happen instantaneously. It's instant downloads of information. Everything is happening all at once simultaneously.
And were you resuscitated by somebody or how did you come back?
Yeah, so I don't know if I actually died. I mean, a version of me definitely died, but nobody ever pronounced me dead. So I describe my experience as a
So you were alone the whole time.
I was alone. Yeah.
Yeah. See, that's why because you had said that word and I picked up on that when you said it. You're like a near-death-like experience. I'm like, we'll get to that.
Yeah, there's like a couple of markers. Yeah. I mean, so because I wasn't in a hospital, nobody resuscitated me. I don't know if I actually died, but I definitely know that my life transformed. So all the same hits as a near-death experience.
Well, I feel like it, at least the way you're describing it, and again, through the lens of the interview with Bob, it feels like there was a lot of similarities, even if it wasn't.
Hitting all the
Yeah, you've checked all the
steps.
Yeah. All the markers. Yeah. So the next go, okay, like and at this point in the experience, I'm drowning in pain, absolute pain and agony. And then it feels like the energy inside my body starts kind of rushing up and down. And today I have language for it, then I didn't, but it was going up and down my chakra system. So my energetic body inside of my physical body. We have these energy centers inside of us. And my energy was like hitting them all and waking them all up. And then my third eye and my crown chakra got hit like over and over and over again, banging against the wall. And then eventually my spirit shot out of my crown. And so as I'm in this space, again, feeling the highest of the high and the lowest of the low, all the pain in the world versus all the joy in the world, like childbirth, death of a child, like love, death, like just up and down this scale of consciousness, I start to hear my father's voice. And at this point in time, he's been dead for 11 years by suicide. So not expecting to hear him, but I do hear his voice and he's chanting to me, "You are worthy of all the love in the universe. You are worthy of all the love in the universe." And I didn't believe the words, but I trusted the voice. And so I figured wherever he is has got to be way better than where I am right now. And so I started to follow him. And that's when I landed in the light. And it's a much different experience. No pain, no agony. It felt like love, unconditional love, not like transactional love like we have here, something that I don't have words to describe, but a feeling of reunion. Like I was finally home, not home like where all your stuff is, but some sort of deep spiritual home that, again, I cannot describe with human words because we don't have anything like it here. So the way that everything played out for me was a lot like a video game. And that could be because of the generation that I'm born in or because we're living in a simulation.
Yeah.
But so the first part of my experience, it's like, in a video game, like how they tell you the plot of the video game. That's what all of the scenes looked like. So the first scene, I'm on the deck of this spaceship. That's what it felt like anyway. It kind of looked like the Gravitron ride from Carnivals. You guys remember that?
Yeah.
And it felt like I came out of the side of one of the walls, like some intergalactic Kool-Aid man. And I was like, oh yeah, we're here. And,
I love every reference you're making. I'm just going to let you know that. We are tracking.
So I'm standing around thousands of other souls, and we're just in our light bodies. So human shape, but no features, no gender, just light. And there's a commander in the center. And this commander, you can call it Christ or Krishna or Buddha or higher consciousness source. It's all the same thing. Something bigger and something so safe and so secure and so loving and so wise. And this commander is telling us that we are the bravest volunteers in the galaxy, that we've all volunteered to come to Earth for the Great Awakening, that we're here for the transformation of consciousness. And everybody is hyped up. Everybody's like glowing and radiating and screaming and so excited. And I'm like, where am I? Like, this is not for me. I don't want to go jump to Earth. That sounds really terrible. Like, I don't think I volunteered for anything. Can I see the contract? Like, there must be a clause for me to get out of this. My awareness shifts to another scene and I find myself in front of a table of beings. And it was like a really crappy plastic banquet hall, foldable, collapsible table. Like there was no budget spent on this table. But on top of the table, there was this beautiful, ornate book. And they were thumbing through it. And I didn't ask them who they were. Everything in that space was like instant acceptance, instant, like just everything was a deep knowing. And so I didn't ask them who they were because I knew that I knew them and they knew me. And they were in charge. I don't know if they're just in charge of me or if they're in charge of everything that is, but I just was there. And they are thumbing through the book and they're like, okay, it's good to see you. You're not meant to stay. You're only here for information. And I'm like looking around me. I'm like, you guys are not talking to me, are you? Is there somebody behind me? Because I'm not leaving. I'm definitely staying. Like you can give me whatever information you want, but I will be staying after I receive my information. And they are thumbing through the book. No, just information. And my awareness shifts over to another scene. And I find myself with some kind of NPC. It's just like a guy in a plaid blazer and a fedora. He's got this big, giant, empty grocery cart. And he goes, okay, let's pick your life. And he starts taking me through the aisles of this grocery store. And on the grocery store aisle walls, there's these gigantic cereal boxes. And every cereal box has a life experience on it. And so I start running through the aisles supermarket sweep style, like I'm going to win a prize if I get the most cereal in my life experience cart. And I'm grabbing the craziest of Earth experiences like addiction and poverty and homelessness and prostitution, dereliction, degradation, sexual trauma. Give me the variety pack. I'll try a little bit of each of those. Thank you so much. And then the one part of this experience that I like to talk about because I think that it's, it was life-changing for me is that I did actually pick this cereal box that said childhood sexual trauma on it. Why would a soul pick an experience like that? I don't have a great answer. I just know that I did. And when I picked this box, a little orb of light came out with it. And it was the soul of the man that molested me as a small child.
Oh, wow.
And we came orb to orb with each other. And we came into a contract with one another because we loved each other so much. Again, my human mind cannot wrap around that concept. If you love somebody, why would you hurt them?
Oh, sure.
But I know today that this is for the evolvement of my soul. And I saw all the reasons why we had made this contract with each other. One of them was that I had been his abuser in the same capacity in a previous lifetime. In this lifetime, we were balancing that energy. I also saw that because my soul had signed up for this great mission to come to Earth to awaken consciousness, I had to pick collective trauma. And I was being born into a certain family where I had to heal that family line's trauma. So, like, I'm not just healing for me. I'm healing for everybody in my family who's experienced this, and everybody in my family has experienced this. I'm healing for generations that I don't know their names, generations in the future, I won't know who they are, but I'm also healing for the collective, the whole world, like every little boy, every little girl who doesn't get an opportunity to heal from their childhood sexual trauma. That's why I took that life experience. And, in this moment, I feel super powerful. It feels like my whole victim mentality has been cracked off of me. 2 tons of garbage has been released from my spirit. I'm not a victim to my circumstance. I'm a divine co-creator of my reality. I am in co-creation with God. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, like, I come back in front of the table of beings and I'm on my knees in gratitude. Oh my God, thank you so much for this information. This is the missing piece of the puzzle. This is what I really needed on Earth. I'm not going to go back there because that place is pretty much a dumpster fire. And like,
Right.
I'm not interested in returning. I'll just watch the apocalypse from the afterlife. You can just grab my PJs and a bowl of popcorn. What do you guys have up here? Like Earth TV? Is that what you stream on? Can I borrow somebody's password?
Yeah. I didn't finish Ted Lasso before I died.
Yeah.
And they were just like very dismissive. They said, you have to go back. This is not a punishment. We're not sending you back as a punishment. We're sending you back because you've been training for lifetimes, for this particular lifetime. And we're not going to let you miss your opportunity. This is the most exciting time to be on Earth. Every soul that's on Earth right now is here for the transformation of consciousness. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity. We're not going to let you miss it. And I could see my body outside of myself. And I was, crumpled up on my bathroom floor, covered in puke. And I'm like, you want me to go back into that? You are letting me feel all of the unconditional love that exists inside the universe. And you want me to squeeze back into that dirty human body? I will not do it. And they said, well, if you don't go back into her, then we'll show you the baby that you'll be born into because you are going back. You will complete your mission. And then again, awareness shifts to another scene, just like a video game. Like when you're selecting the character on the start screen, little baby pops up, slowly rotating 360 degrees. All her stats pop up next to her charisma level, her personality type, her gender, her ethnicity, where she'll be born, who her parents are, her adversity, her strengths. And this baby was going to take my life experience card. And then she had added cereal boxes because of the family that she was going to be born into. And so I would have to start from zero. And I was like completely defeated, like hands up in the air, like, whoa, wait, if these are actually my only options, go back into that glitched, broken body I just came from, or start as a little baby from zero, I'll go back into the body I just came from. And they came at me like in this very comforting, compassionate way. It almost felt like, there was hands cupped around my face and they said, listen, the first part of your life was boot camp. Nobody likes boot camp. There's some angry bald man screaming in your face. You're doing 1,000 push-ups. Your face is in the mud. It's raining sideways. It's cold. You're homesick. The second part of your life is going to be carrying out your mission. You're going to have soulmates and kindred spirits and teachers and mentors and communities, and you're going to be living in spiritual awareness, and you're going to know about us. It's going to be so much better. Just trust us. And I was like, I have 0 reasons to trust you guys, so that won't be happening. And then I just found myself back in my awareness on my bathroom floor, completely convinced that what I had just experienced was drug-induced psychosis. I remember sitting up and kind of shaking my head and going, damn. I was so high that I thought I was talking to God. That is crazy. And then that was it. I just went about living my life the way that I had always been living it. Still prostituting myself, lying, stealing, thieving. I didn't think anything of it. I'll pause there.
Well,
That's all right.
I mean, Jesus, we could have 50 shows on
It's
on
so
the volume.
interesting that you were kind of you were given some insight to why the things happen, right? That supermarket scenario is really like, you did pick this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what I also really like about this is that it feels like it could be and probably would be tailored to the most receptive frequencies of an individual. Like you're of a certain age with a certain, New
From
York
a
City
certain culture.
Yeah, from a certain culture. So like video games was a language that you understood, right? Like, so if you were a Sri Lankan aristocrat, like in finding yourself in the same position, maybe the vernacular would be different, or like the metaphors certainly would be different. And
Totally. Yeah. Like I was like a homeless junkie. So I had never read a book on spirituality or philosophy, so they couldn't come at me with any sort of knowledge like that.
Yeah, they were going to be quoting Deepak Chopra.
Yeah, for sure.
They were like, "Hey, girl, your life is the Matrix. This is the Inception." They were just coming at me with movie references,
with things that like you got,
yeah.
And it is funny. I like your little wink that we're living in a simulation. There was a not quite simulation, but with Google Willow, their experiment with their giant quantum computer, it proved the math out that we are in fact possibly in a multiverse situation.
Definitely.
And so like simulation, multiverse, I mean, I feel like we're kind of splitting hairs at that point. Like I feel like, but I do agree that there is sort of mounting evidence that there is like a layer behind this layer. And so I don't want to derail the conversation, but like I always ask, like even when we were interviewing Bob, I'm like, how much of this is just the veil getting exposed, perhaps accidentally, perhaps intentionally, but how much of this is that, right? Versus, and like, hey, you took a bunch of drugs too. I mean, there could have been a little bit.
Yeah, it might have flavored the experience just a little.
That's funny. Yeah. Well, I think that the veil is revealing itself. Like, it seems like we're in this Truman Show experience right now, and it's the last season of the show, and they're like, "Oh my god, but we didn't use all of these storylines. Let's just dump them in all at once."
Was that what's happening politically right now? Is that
what's happening in the world?
Yeah, it's everywhere. But I guess, you know what, and again, I want to get back to you here, but I guess in a way, this is sort of an extension of your post experience. But I feel like a lot of people we talk to here definitely are influencing my opinion on this. But I feel like even before this, and possibly the cause of doing this show in the first place, was that a lot more people are having a lot more sort of an awakening, if you want to call it that, but like a shift in how they experience the world, how they choose to move forward in the world, choosing to do different things for different reasons. Money's moving down the list, cause is moving up the list. I know a lot of people are quick to say, we're at the end and blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, I don't know. I feel like there is a mounting possibility that we're actually at the beginning. Like, you know what I mean? I'm just curious. Did you reflect in that at all?
The end is the beginning and the beginning is the end. It's a serpent eating its own tail. Like that is what the world is. And exactly what you're describing is what I was downloaded with what the Great Awakening is. The Great Awakening is a transformation of consciousness from a third dimensional level of thought, which means an ego self-centered level of thought. So like money, property, prestige. And we're transforming into a fifth dimensional thought, which is a spirit service-centered thought system. Like we care more about like patience and tolerance and honesty and being of service to other people than we do other things. And maybe that's only our reality because we're focused there. Because I could say this argument to a ton of people and they would say, but what about this or what about that? But where you focus your energy is what your reality becomes. So like, for instance, I literally have no idea what's going on in the world. I mean, like I have a general idea, but like I don't watch the news because what am I going to do about it? Like, why would I do that? I work for causes that I feel very passionate about. Like today, I work in substance use disorder recovery because it's something that I feel like I can make a difference in. Like I work within my community to do things to help with homelessness or to help with people that are hungry because it's something that I can have a little bit of control over. I can't change the entire world. I can only change my reality.
Right. And you speak that language fluently, right? Like, so it's definitely like an
It's
easy
lived experience. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that is sort of like the force multiplier when we have stories like this being told is like, you know, when you pair that fluidity in a topic like this, especially either the more esoteric or the darker the topic, right? Like if it gets real woo woo or real dark, if people can really get mastery around that language and then turn that around or live through it to get to the other side of it, they become like superheroes, right? Like it's not the same as like somebody going to get a social work degree in college and then they go get their master's and maybe they get a PhD in something and then they start being a social worker and like, I don't know. It's not the same thing, right?
There's no greater weapon than lived experience. It's so true. I mean, like, I cannot even tell you, and I'm not saying that like I have a bunch of success stories under my belt. I don't. But like, I will tell you that when I self-disclose to somebody and I say, hey, I'm in recovery, if I can do it, you can definitely do it.
Sure.
Sometimes I'll even show people a before and after picture because you wouldn't believe what I looked like before. I mean,
shit, you had to go and say that, didn't you?
Really, it's two totally different people. So, you know, like that little piece of information, it just cracks a person open. Like, oh my God, she gets it. You know, like she understands. Because the thing about addiction specifically is that it's not a moral deficiency. People aren't using drugs because there's something morally wrong with them. They're using drugs because they have a dis-ease. They have a dis-ease of addiction. You know, in the end of my active addiction, every time I got high, I was completely convinced that bugs lived inside of me.
Wow.
And I would cut myself open with razor blades trying to find the bugs inside my skin. Now, that's not fun.
No,
I'm not a person who's like,
suffering.
let me party. You know, like that's because I have an obsessive compulsive disease inside my head that says that I have to use drugs every time the thought comes up.
Right.
That's how I know I have a disease anyway.
So that's actually also troubling to hear, but like also super insightful in the sense that you're like, you know, it feels like you really got to the DNA of your issue. And I'm guessing, I don't know, how did you tip the scales to get out of active addiction?
Yeah. So, you know, like I shared, I didn't think that my experience was real because I was a militant atheist and I didn't believe in any of this stuff. I didn't even know what this stuff was. I had never heard of a near-death experience. I didn't know about spiritual awakening. And then all of these synchronicities started to take place in my life. Again, I didn't know that word either. I was like, these are really weird coincidences happening. For instance, like I was an opiate addict. I had been strung out on opiates. Like it used to be prescription pills. And then one day pills became heroin when there was no pills available. So for 20 years, I'm an opiate addict. And it was the one drug that I felt like I'm going to have to use drugs forever because the pain of withdrawal, I will do anything to stay out of the pain of withdrawal. So I had this long laundry list of drug dealers because you got to have backups, you got to plan.
Yeah.
And I call up my main dealer and I'm like, hey man, I want to pick up. When can I meet you? And he's like, lose my number, bitch. Don't ever call me again. I found Jesus. I want to be a good father. Click, hangs up on me, blocks me. I'm like,
Wow.
What the hell? That's crazy. I call up the next guy on the list. Same exact story. But these men did not know each other. Okay, I did that with 10 different guys.
That's fucking crazy.
Everybody had a mirrored story. It was crazy. It was like the walls were closing in. Like,
right.
You will get on this very narrow path. Like, you will know.
Yeah, bitch, we will get you there. Hell of a high water, man. We will. Like, you didn't listen to the guy playing the video game.
Fuck while you're laying on the floor there.
Yeah.
God damn, you're not smart. We gotta fucking take
it was crazy. I experienced a spontaneous healing out of heroin withdrawal because once I had no dealers, I would run around New York City and I knew where to find drugs. But every time I got drugs, like they didn't work or they got wet in the rain or like, you know, I would fall out right away. Everything was happening to get me onto a different path. And so then I started to experience really intense withdrawals. And I was on day 3 and I was welcoming death. Like, please, something kill me right now. And I heard this voice in my head, and it told me that I could request what I wanted fixed. And I was in the throes of desperation. So I was like, okay, strange voice, I don't want to be sick anymore. And they told me to count backwards from 10. And as I did, these two little men appeared in my mind's eye, and they were wearing these white lab coats, like these little doctors of divinity. And these little lawnmowers manifested in front of them, and they took off in separate directions in my mind. And they started plowing out. I mean, I assume they were plowing out my pain receptors, my neurotransmitters. I knew some of those words from being in detoxes and rehabs over a dozen times in my life. And I felt these intense hot tingles start to take over the whole crown of my head. And then there was this bright white flash when they were finished, and I was instantaneously healed. I mean, moments before, I was sick all over myself, welcoming death. My blood felt like lava. My skin felt like shards of glass. My bones felt like they were made of campfire logs. Everything hurt. My fingernails hurt. My eyelashes hurt. I was drowning in agony. And then in this instant, I was completely well and healed and fine. And I threw myself on the ground, and I was crying out to a God that I do not believe in. And I was saying, how could this be happening to me? I don't believe in this. I don't believe in you. You could not have picked a more unworthy subject to bestow this kind of grace on. And for the contrast, before this experience happened, I'm a militant atheist. I'm an orphan to suicide. I'm a meth head prostitute strung out on heroin. I'm a liar, manipulator, thief. I'm a racist. I'm a rapist. I'm a traumatized person traumatizing other people. I'm a failure. I'm a burden to society and myself. I've abandoned people. I've hurt so many people. And I just kept crying out, I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy. And they said back to me, but you're worthy of all the love in the universe. You're worthy of all the love in the universe. And I didn't believe it, but I just, I took what they were saying. And then after that, obviously, I thought I was the second coming of Christ.
Yeah, of course. I was going to get to that question. I'm like, oh yeah. Were you like walking around like doves flying out from behind you?
I was absolutely a lunatic. First of all, I really did think that I might be Jesus. I was like, I've been healed. I can heal other people.
Sure.
So I start going out on the New York City subway system,
Yeah, you probably
proselytizing and evangelizing. And said, I don't know shit about God. So I'm like, guys, don't eat McDonald's. It's poison. Like, that's all I got. I got nothing else to say.
Well, you were wrong.
I think I saw you at Washington Square Park. I was the guy running away from you.
Oh, no, yeah. I was like a for real crazy person. Like, people were running away from me. And one day I'm on a train, and the whole train car is empty, not because I scared everybody out, just because there was nobody on there, which is weird in the middle of the day in New York to have, we got 9 million people here. How is there nobody in this one train car?
It doesn't happen often.
Right. So the doors open and a man steps inside, and he sits directly across from me, even though the whole train car was empty.
I mean, fuck
around
that guy.
his neck was
fuck that guy.
Around his neck was this big blinged out 12-step emblem for the 12-step that I belong to now. And I heard this voice in my head, and it said, that's your path. Follow him to a meeting. And so I asked this strange man on the train if he happened to be going to a meeting. And guess what?
Yeah.
He was on his way to one. And he took me with him. And that was the beginning of my recovery journey. And they just told me that I had to keep making meetings. They were like, you use drugs every day, you got to make meetings every day. And so the next day I went to another meeting. And again, like, I didn't look the way that I look now when I came into this process. At the very end, I was destroyed. My face was full of holes from trying to pick the bugs out of my skin. I was missing most of my teeth. These are paid for.
Yeah.
I was gray. My eyes were dead. Like, I was a mess. And it was painfully obvious that I was new. And so I walked into this women's meeting the next day, and this woman grabbed me as soon as I walked in, and she held me so tight. She hugged me. And I hadn't been touched in a loving way in a really long time, so it kind of grossed me out. I was, I didn't understand. And then she leaned in and she whispered in my ear, and she said, you are worthy of all the love in the universe. You are worthy of all the love in the universe. And
you're like, I found it. Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, it was my deepest moment of surrender. Like I literally let out this deep, guttural, sort of somatic cry.
Right.
And I rested my head on her big boobies for as long as she would let me. And I just melted into her because now it was real. Everything else I thought that I was making up in my head, even the healing, I was like, oh, I'm crazy. Like, I'm dead. Like, I just kept thinking that I had died and that I was stuck in some sort of purgatory. But here was an actual physical person saying the same message to me that I kept hearing over and over and over again in all these spiritual experiences. And so I knew that I had to do recovery. I really didn't want to. I didn't know how to, but I knew that God wasn't giving me any choice. I had to do this. And so I ended up going into a long-term rehab. I stayed inpatient in a women's facility for a year and a half.
Oh, geez. Wow.
Which is psychotic, I know. I didn't have access to a cell phone or the internet in that whole time. So I had to like read books to learn things. Have you guys heard of these things?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like school.
We've got an entire bookcase of books that I'm never going to read.
I've read a few now.
Yeah.
But you know, I felt like a caveman because I couldn't just Google things. I still didn't know what was going on with me. I just thought that I was dead. I would go into therapy and my therapist would say, what do you radically accept today? And I'd say, I radically accept that I'm dead. And she's like, okay, that's not what I mean. We're going to have to work on this. But it just did feel like I died. But
suddenly you being there for a year and a half is making more sense.
okay, yes,
Yeah.
I definitely needed help.
Yeah.
I needed help for sure. You know, I didn't even know how to brush my one good tooth without being high first. I had to relearn how to be a human because I didn't really know how to be a human.
I mean, that's
my whole
wild.
life had been about survival. I didn't know anything about living. And so I had to really reprogram. And while I was in that treatment facility, I found A Course in Miracles, which is a metaphysical text channeled by Jesus. It's a reprogramming, and it kind of reads like stereo instructions. So at first I thought
it's a rough one. I tried to make it through it. I couldn't.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I couldn't. Yeah.
I thought at first that it was a handbook for the recently deceased, like
Oh my God.
Beetlejuice. So it just affirmed my deadness even more. I was like, "Where's my caseworker Juno to help me get through this? Like, I don't understand what I'm reading."
My kids made me take them to the much less entertaining Beetlejuice 2.
It was
I loved it.
The
Did you really?
second one-
Oh my God, no, come on.
it was the second one kind of let me down. I had so
Oh,
many
Matt.
good
Well, the
memories of
first
the
one-
original.
The first one was
so good.
untouchable.
It's impossible.
Yeah, the first one is untouchably
You know what's
awesome.
funny?
Like,
The Course in Miracles, like now that you've said that, it's printed like a freaking Bible, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's like the same type of paper and everything.
Yes. I mean, it basically is, you know, it's like this 1,800 page manifesto. It's comprised of 3 parts. There's a text, there's a workbook for students. That's where the reprogramming takes place. And then there's a manual for teachers, for people who want to be able to teach what A Course in Miracles is about. And it is very dense. But I thought that if I finished that book, that I would get to ascend and go back to heaven. That's what I thought. I was like,
where's my video game guy?
I found the cheat code. This is it.
Yeah.
And so I just kept reading. Like sometimes I would go through whole chapters and I wouldn't understand one word of what I was reading, but I just kept on, I just kept going. And then when I got to the very last paragraph of the text, I laid back in my bunk bed. Yes, I lived in a bunk bed for a year and a half. I took off my shoes and I was like, beam me up, Scotty. And I read the last paragraph and I literally thought that I was going to leave my body.
Yeah, you're like up, left, right, A, B.
Wait, was there kind of a disappointment after the experience that you were trying to reconnect to that? Because I've heard that happen so much where you're like, oh, I saw this thing and now I kind of feel abandoned again.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I went through so much rage because I was like, why is God abandoning me? I don't understand. Like, why am I not worthy of being in heaven? And then, like through my integration process, I found the International Association for Near-Death Studies, and they had these sharing groups online. And so I would go into these Zoom meetings, and there was, tons of people in there, and they're all sharing about their experiences, and they're talking about them so beautifully and comprehensively. And like at that point in time, my story was just a bunch of jumbled nothing. I just kept affirming, I'm dead, I'm dead, I'm dead. How do I get out of here? I'm dead. And these people were talking about their stories with like grace and love and, like a sense of pride and accomplishment. And then they were talking about that their experience happened 20 years ago. And I was like, I'd come off mute, hysterically crying, like, wait, are you telling me that I have to stay here for 20 more years? Like, where the fuck is the off ramp? I don't
Yeah.
want to be here anymore. And then, through integrating and being immersed in spiritual community, A Course in Miracles helped a lot too. I realized that it's not about going back to heaven. It's about bringing heaven to earth. And I get to do that every day. Every day I can wake up and make a conscious decision to bring heaven here. And I do that through connection to other people. That's my main way of feeling like I'm back in heaven because, I came here with a tribe of souls. I truly believe that. And I get to connect with them. And
We've only mentioned that on the show 100 times, actually. Yeah, these are all recurring themes, right?
definitely.
Like, let me ask a question that I want to apologize ahead of time if it sounds disrespectful to any kind of belief system that you're currently sort of in, but I am curious. Seems to be a connection between near death and like now I found God, and like you're running around the subway like a lunatic, yelling at people about don't eat McDonald's. Okay, like I'm laughing at that because it seems like very on brand with that situation, right? And again, I don't want to like be disrespectful to anybody, but I'm curious, is there or was there like this magnet to a God situation after that? And if so, like, what do you think kind of drove that?
Yeah, definitely magnet to God. I mean, I met God.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I felt God. Like God is not a form, like God
It's
is
not an
just
old
all
guy
that is.
with
Yeah,
really
it's not a guy
chiseled
with a beard,
abs.
in a
Exactly.
blue
Like,
flowing robe, like I was told.
right. God is not a bearded man in the sky, like, casting judgment on us for whatever it is that we do.
And Betty, I got to give you a quick back here. I went to Catholic school K through 12.
Okay, good. Yeah, I'm
Like
sorry.
nothing will cure you of Catholicism faster than going to Catholic school from K through 12. Like
That's totally true. Yeah.
like I'm just being candid here. Like no disrespect to Catholics, but holy fucking shit.
Yeah, I know a lot of recovering Catholics. That's something that institutional religion does to people. I feel like it started as a place to build community and then it warped into something else. Like, I mean, I could go on a whole
Yeah, they
rant
made
about
money.
my
And then
resentment
all of
of
a
our
sudden they made money and then more money.
Right.
And it's control and dominance is what it is.
And if you ever want to laugh about this topic, watch the episode on Kelly. I think it's called Kelly on Seth MacFarlane. What's his Star Trek one? Orville, the Orville. There is an episode where they are on a planet that disappears every 24 hours for 12 hours. And when it comes back, 1,000 years has gone by on that planet. They're in some kind of parody, right? And so she's in there when they were cavemen, and one of the kids falls and cuts their arm, and she pulls out their little, medical gun and like fixes the kid. 1,000 years later, they come back and there's all these tribes. Now they're more evolved, but they're all worshiping this deity, Kelly. And now it's organized into these pods. And then fast forward another 1,000 years. Now there's like a Roman Catholic church and there's bishops and there's everything. And they're like, I am Kelly. They're like, heresy, lock this chick up. Like she's fucking crazy. And it was literally a mirror of the Catholic Church on how it kind of just, to your point, morphed over time from something that was really innocent and pure and well.
Maybe, or maybe it never was. Who
or
knows?
maybe it never was.
So I think as far as a relationship with God, my relationship with God, or what I conceptualize God to be, has shifted over the course of integration. Like at first I was like, Jesus is my boyfriend. Everybody needs to know about Jesus.
Yeah.
And but I didn't know anything about Jesus. I was going based off of Christianity's idea of Jesus. And so I still believed in sin. A big part of my integration process, like even though I kept being told that I'm worthy of all the love in the universe, I felt rejected because I was made to come back to Earth. And I couldn't really piece all of that together at first. So I thought, well, I'm still on Earth. Like Earth is purgatory and I'm here because I did all of these terrible things and I need to repent for them. And I kept trying to fit myself into other people's boxes. And so like, I wanted to, praise God. I wanted to praise Jesus. And so I went to a Catholic church and I was like, this isn't for me. And then I went to a Baptist church and everybody was singing about Jesus. And I was like, this is kind of cool. But then the audio and the video weren't matching, like what the actions that they were doing and the words that they were saying, they didn't align. And I was like, I don't want to do this. And then I went to an evangelical church and I thought that I was going to go on a mission and preach the word of Jesus. And I like none of it fit. The more self-investigation that I did, like the more my insatiable thirst for spiritual knowledge took hold of me, and the more scriptures and sacred texts and books about spiritual laws came into my world, I designed my own spirituality. I cherry picked things from each text, and I said, "This is what I want my relationship."
The Bruce Lee of spirituality.
And like it changes all the time. It still changes constantly. Like that's practicing the spiritual principle of open-mindedness. I don't have to stick to any sort of rigidity when it comes to spirit, because spirit is ever evolving, and so am I. And that's the most beautiful thing about it. I think my main discovery is that I am God. Like I have the ability to manipulate the energy in this world. Like I became a master manifester. My life completely exploded. I have consciously created everything in my environment today. I used to be a homeless drug addict. My diet consisted of Little Debbie zebra cakes and cans of cheap soda. I didn't take care of myself. Today, I'm a sugar-free, gluten-free vegan. I only drink water. I exercise my body. I used to eat pills out of other people's puke. I make 6 figures. I live in a luxury apartment in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. I have a loving, healthy relationship in my life. I'm surrounded by spiritual community, friends, mentors. I get to work with people and help them transform. I have done all of that in co-creation with the divine. So that's my biggest revelation about God, is that I have a direct line to spirit at all times. Everybody does. If some homeless crackhead does, everybody does.
Right. And that's like such an interesting way to look at it, because I think you hear a lot of this. I mean, look, we've all made the self-help, circuit, right? So there's always like a find the inner warrior and like, connect to the divine. I mean, there's a lot of buzzwords out there but it's interesting to hear you package it up, because like, I think that is one of the biggest things I yell at my kids for, funny enough. I said, it's not that you guys are doing too much screen time or too much of this or not enough of that. It's just, you're not connected to the things that make us humans because you've volunteered to not be a part of that. If you actually lean into this, you'd realize that you are in charge of a lot more than you think you're in charge of. And taking control of that, even at a young age, like I think if people had that more, like they would be different adults, right? Like there would be different actions taken if you were the author, or you perceived life to be you as the author versus you as the participant, or God willing, or God forbid, you as a victim.
Yeah. Like what shift do you have to make in your life to become the main character of your story and not a background actor? Do you think, like I say this all the time, you used to be a sperm in a ball sack, and now you are a human person with thought and autonomy. Yeah. Do you think that you came here to be a background player? Like that's crazy. There's no need to be. We all can be main characters in our story. That's what an abundance mindset is all about. There's enough for everybody.
And we've laughed about this several times on the show, but I had a coach one time that said, I was in deep hypnosis, and he said, I want to take you back to the moment before your father ejaculated in your mother and you chose to take human form. Like that was how he phrased it. And I'm like, even though I'm
out of a hypnosis.
I was like, I was just about to say that. I was like, fuck, even though I'm in this deep state of hypnosis, I was like, holy shit, that like rattles you to the core. Yeah. Right. But then when you started leaning in on it, and again, I don't believe in coincidence either. Like not long after that, we're at breakfast and I'm with a guy who derails into this whole like talk about spirit families and soul families, and you talked about it on here, and I'm like, how is this happening? Like I just had this conversation, which was novel to say the least. I've never had that conversation before, and now in a very short distance of time I'm having this other fucking crazy conversation, which is directly tied to that other crazy ass conversation. Again, not a coincidence. I don't think.
That's what, but it's also confirmation bias too, because like,
I don't
again,
disagree.
your thoughts create your reality. So, you know, when I talk to people that are allowing their thoughts to be ruled by whatever's going on in the outer illusion, it's like you are in control. You can choose. And then, you know, people feel like, well, if I'm not informed, then I can't do my part or whatever. But really, the best thing that you can do is do what lights your soul up. So, like, if you believe that we live in a video game, which I do, then the big boss, the King Koopa of this game, is the game itself. It's the architecture of the game. The whole point of the game is to distract you from your soul's mission. Your soul came here to create, to experience joy, to experience sadness, to experience all that is. And so if you get distracted by the outer illusion, then your chances of being able to do what your soul came here to do are much lessened. You know, like when you close your eyes and you go to sleep at night, you create a whole universe with your eyes closed. You're doing the same thing with your eyes open. This is a waking dream. It's just a collective hallucination that we've all agreed upon. So when you're sleeping at night, are you worried about like who's president or what's going on in the political arena when you're in that dream world? No, you don't give a shit. You're like in your individual dream. And so if you can do the same thing inside the waking dream, you can soar to outer space, literally.
And I think that that's the part where I think nobody really has mastery over. It's very difficult to teach that to somebody. It almost has to be a learned experience, and it almost has to be a traumatic learned experience. Like, otherwise, what shakes you out of that, right? Because it's comfortable to live in the dream, right? It's comfortable to just be like, hey, man, I'm going to go punch a time clock for 8 hours a day and come home and, you know, get laid once a month and, you know, go on a 7-day vacation once a year. And like, I mean, it's totally fine to do these things, right? Like, it's easy to do those things.
Yes, we are very comfortable in our discomfort. We don't even realize, like, I read this, one of the first books that I read, you know, like when I was in treatment, it was this book called Paradoxology, and it was about the paradoxes in the Bible. And when the guy talks about the Jesus paradox, he basically says that, like, if you believe in the story of Jesus, how it's put in the New Testament, that Jesus is the Savior, he has bestowed us with all of this grace. We are free. We are free. Like, sin does not exist because Jesus died for our sins. So, like, basically, we're prisoners of war. But because we refuse to leave the war camp. Like, we don't have to live like in this limited perspective, because if you believe in the story in the Bible, then like all of that is gone. Like, Jesus was telling us that we live inside of a dream. That's the way that I interpret the New Testament when I read it today.
I'm sure you're wildly popular at, you know, evangelical.
Well, she's not
church.
calling the Pope. You know,
Right, yeah. I don't think the Pope has heard my story yet.
No.
They're transformed by God, but
it's been my experience that religious zealots really like to be told about their metacognitive failures.
You know what? They love telling me about their shit, though.
One time I tried to have a debate with somebody like a New York City street preacher, and I was like, this is a fucking waste of my energy, really true.
I know, but it is tempting, isn't it?
It's so tempting.
I was in New Orleans for a wedding, and I saw a guy.
You have a great argument. You're like, I'm going to convince this guy. Nobody's ever convinced anybody of anything.
No, never.
Nobody's ever changed anyone's mind. Like, that's not what I'm here to do. I'm not here to change anybody's mind. But if something that I say, like, if you feel it and you're like, well, she can do it, maybe I can do it.
Yeah.
If you're interested in that, then that's what I'm here for. But we don't have to be prisoners of war. Like, the locks are undone, the door is blasted open. Like, you can go and live your biggest, truest life. The only thing that stops us is fear. And fear is the other big boss of the game. The whole matrix is comprised of fear programming. So you have to be vigilant in your reprogramming process. Like, I have to do it every day. And I'm not saying that fear doesn't pop up for me. It absolutely does. But I have tools today that I can use, and I have people that I can depend on. But spiritual community is such a huge part of this for me. Other people, like again, we're talking about soul families, but not just that. The beginning of time, we had tribes of people that we were a part of, because if you didn't, you get eaten by a lion. So what makes you think that anything has changed? We still need people. I can't see dirt behind my own ear. I need other people to tell me my flaws, my character defects, what I still need to work on. If it's just me by myself, I'm with the person who got me into the mess in the first place. So like I need somebody else, you know? So that's like my biggest, that's the thing that I tell people the most. Like, find a mentor, find a teacher, find a community, do the uncomfortable thing. It's worth it. Like, do it anyway. Yeah, it's fucking awkward making friends as an adult person. Ew, I'd rather eat glass. But you know what? It's worth it. Every single second of it is worth it.
And it's so funny you say that, because like that would be the easy part for me. I'm like, oh, make more friends. That's cool. I could do that. Yeah, like, but like, I don't know. I love first of all, I just love overall the energy that you bring to this conversation, because it's like an easy conversation to de-energize with, right? Like, does that make sense? Like, I mean, this would demotivate plenty of people out there, right? You know? So, I mean, the pressing question is if we are in a video game, what's on the other side of the video game?
Yeah. So, you know, it could be anything that you want it to be. Like, you're the architect, you're the designer. But for me, I think that what's on the other side of the video game is actually super boring. I say this a lot too. Like, heaven is a snoozeville. You only do one thing while you're there. Unconditional love and light? No thanks. I'd rather experience duality myself. But I think that, you know, part of the game is enjoying the game. Like, you're meant to play the game and experience all the things. Because if you only wanted to be hyper spiritual, or you only wanted to be enlightened, or only experience unconditional love, then you would have never left heaven. You came here because you wanted to see what this duality thing was.
Yeah, dust it up a bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, I guess it seems like I can intuit your answer here, but based on your story, but like, I mean, you obviously have no apprehension. It doesn't seem like you have apprehension about going back.
Right? No, I don't. Like, I'm not gonna. I mean, I welcome it if you guys want to give it to me, but like, I actually really enjoy Earth. You know, like, I'll come back here. When I first came back from my experience, I would just affirm over and over again, I'll never fucking come back to this ghetto ass planet.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, I can't wait to come back. I can't wait to do this all over again. This was so fun. You know, it's like being on a roller coaster. If you try to hop off the ride halfway through the roller coaster, you can't. Like, you're strapped in. Like, you have to complete the ride. And in the end, you're like, oh, wow, that was fun. And it was so fast. And maybe I'll go back on again and I'll ride the roller coaster in the front seat instead of the back seat, or I'll ride next to this person instead of that person. And it's supposed to be fun. If your life doesn't feel fun, please reach out, because it's supposed to be fun.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, I'd certainly live by that rule, but you know what? I'm curious. You got me thinking about something. Like, if I am a soul family, I mean, am I trapped to just Earth? Like, are there other versions of this out there? Like, could I go somewhere else? Maybe try that out a little bit?
You already are. You're experiencing all the things simultaneously all at once, because time is not real.
Right.
So you guys already are. You and your soul family are on other planets and other dimensions, doing other things, looking super weird and creepy.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe as humans we look the weirdest and creepiest. I'm not sure, but everything is happening all at the same time.
Yeah, and that we can geek out on that like for hours. By the way, I love that topic, and I think the vastness of this whole situation. To your point, like, what is the chances that you even exist at all? Right, like one sperm, one ovum, one universe. And my kids actually asked me a question a couple of years ago that got my head kind of exploding. They're like, if you could go back and change anything, would you? And I had to think about it, because my first answer was, yeah, I think I would have done this and that. And I'm like, you know what? Had I had sex 30 seconds earlier, or came a nanosecond earlier, my kids wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
Like, at all. Like, that was an exact moment in time. Like, exact moment. Not arguable, you know. And I love my kids, and I don't know that I would be willing to trade anything that got me there. We could talk about after them, but like, they were sort of my hard line in the sand. I'm like, But it took me a couple weeks to really reconcile that. I'm like, I can't fuck with this. Like, I can't touch any of this. It's fragile.
Yeah, I love that. That's acceptance, like in its purest form. I would not give back one part of my journey, not one part. All the trauma, all the tragedy, all the triumph, like the contrast is so deep for a reason for me. And people ask me that all the time. They're like, "Oh, what would you tell younger you?" And I'm like, "Nothing. Just like let her go through it.
Yeah,
She'll survive. I
yeah,
made it. She's gonna make it.
She'll be fine.
Yeah.
There's pretty teeth on the other side of this story. Let her go. Like, yeah.
There's pretty teeth and a huge dental bill, but like you're gonna be okay.
Yeah, you'll be fine. Yeah. Well, that is like definitely one of the crazier stories we've gone over on this show. That's intense. I'm really grateful that Bob connected us. It was absolutely ridiculously awesome to talk to you. What's your sort of thing now? Like, are you like, what do we do with you? Like, do we send people somewhere? Do we, what's your?
I have a website. I'm on all social media. My handle and my website is Buddha Betty. It's a play on words. I'm not actually a Buddha.
Okay. No problem.
And
we like
and I would love to connect. You know, like if you're looking for spiritual community, I have a spiritual community. We meet Tuesdays online at 7 p.m. Eastern. It's just a cool little collective of people. We just conceptualize all the same things that we kind of talked about here. We have a different topic every week. I run the International Association for Near-Death Studies New York chapter. So if you're in the New York City
area, that the same thing that Bob's a part of?
Like, that. Yeah, it was pretty amazing.
By the way, I went to your website and I did not do this before. Those pictures, that before and after is fucking crazy, dude.
I know.
Like fucking crazy. Like I mean, what the actual fuck, man? Like, that's crazy. I mean, that is a transformation.
Now I gotta look.
Yeah, I mean,
damn it, I haven't been on Instagram in 2 weeks.
No. Go to the BuddhaBetty.com.
Oh, wow.
I mean, that is fucking intense. Like, I assume you're like just jacked up in this picture.
Oh my God, so faded. I mean, like, yeah, that's not sleeping for 4 days, not eating for 4 days, like barely drinking water. Just really, really out of it. And that was the state that I was in. Was all the time, was just total unawareness every second of the day.
That's just crazy town.
Yes. Yeah. My spirit is alive. You know, my spirit was like completely asleep and compartmentalized as that version of myself.
Well, that's why you have so much energy. Your spirit slept for a couple decades.
Totally. I'm living all the life.
I'm in fast forward now, man. Yeah. So people, you're, I guess, I don't know your business, but your mission right now is basically helping people through similar transitions.
I work as a transformation coach, like in my free time, which I don't have a lot of, but you know, I have my own business as a transformation coach, and I help people transform through any aspect of their lives. I also utilize the law of attraction. I teach people how to use it in like just this really easy, digestible way. It's so simple. If a homeless crackhead can use it, you can use it too.
Yeah.
You know? It's not like only for certain people. It's just about understanding and healing all those underlying wounds that block us. Like the wounds are what cause the negative thoughts. And so to heal those wounds, you can start to manifest your life super quickly. I mean, I have, so I know that somebody else can too. And then I work a day job. I work in peer support. So my whole job is self-disclosure. And then, I create content, and I'm super grateful for my new life because, again, like transformation is inevitable. We're not meant to stay caterpillars. We are meant to transform into butterflies, and the universe is going to do it for you if you don't do it by yourself. But I know you were saying like a lot of us need that, really, like we're stubborn, we're hard-headed, and we won't learn from somebody else's experience. But if you don't want a spiritual brick thrown at your face, you can just learn from other people. Lots of people do that with lots of things, and I think that it's probably a lot nicer to do it that way. Today I try not to get spiritual bricks thrown at my face.
Well, I'll tell you what, I learned this lesson over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, is that not making a decision or not taking action is every bit as much of a decision as whatever the other thing was, except you never like that version. Like that is never the better option, right? Like it's at least in my life, it has never been like, I did nothing and wow, look how much better it was. No, that is never happened. Yeah.
I always tell people too, like on that same kind of thread, that if you're somebody who feels like you procrastinate a lot, or like, you just can't get shit done. Like you actually are very disciplined and consistent. You're just in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Just disciplined and consistent in not doing anything. And you can just transfer that energy into action and do one small, tiny baby step.
That's actually a wild thought. You're not wrong there, huh? Like they're super disciplined.
It exists. Yeah. The discipline is there.
Interesting. Yeah. A woman years ago, like had a quote that was like, you could be in a good mood or a bad mood. It takes the exact same amount of energy to do either one.
Absolutely.
And I was like,
with fear and faith, they're both invisible. You can invest your energy in either one. Do you want? Because you can't see either of them. So decide which one you want to invest your energy in.
That is wild, man. Well, listen, I can't wait to send people your way. Hang around after. Got some things I'd love to talk to you about. But honestly, it was so good to have you here. Thank you so much for sharing time with us.
Thanks so much for your space.
Yeah, it was great. All right, guys. Well, have a wonderful weekend. And thanks again. Bye.
Be subversive, irreverent.
Health is wealth, but you knew that.
Everybody knows that.
But so is following us on social media at Irreverent Health. And check out our website for more exclusive content at irreverenthealth.com.
Oh, I like this.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Irreverent Health.